Slow down, you got to slow down and take it easy. Slow down, you got to slow down and take it easy.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Stogie Review video review. And up for review this week is the Indian Tabac 10th anniversary by Rocky Patel. A little bit of background information on this blend is that obviously it was created somewhere around the same time that the Rocky Patel decade was made, and both cigars are meant to commemorate Rocky Patel's 10 years in the industry. This cigar is supposedly going to be one of the blends that are regularly available year-round from Rocky Patel. And I picked this up locally for $6. I was looking around a little bit online. They're a little bit tough to find by the box, but I was able to find 2 or 3 places that had these for about $95 a box, and they come 20 cigars to a box. These are blended by Tabac Fernandez, again to commemorate Rocky Patel's 10 years. And surprisingly, this cigar's makeup is very, very similar to the Perdomo Habano Corojo. When I was doing a little research on this cigar, I remember I started to look this cigar up a couple of weeks ago when I picked it up, and I got frustrated and decided not to review it right away because I couldn't find information direct from the manufacturer, and some of the places that I typically go first for information didn't have any. So I decided just to put it off for the time being. I was running tight on time, and I reviewed something else. And then, so I had very little background information on the cigar to begin with. And then tonight I sat down and I started reading up on it a little bit. And I headed over to Stogie Fresh, the Doc's website. He recently got back from a trip to Rocky Patel's place out in Honduras. So I figured by now he's had to have reviewed it, and coming from the Rocky Patel factory, he's probably got some fresh information. Not the press release information that comes with the cigar that you find everywhere. So I headed over to Doc's site, found some interesting information, and as I'm typing up the information for the review, I'm thinking, this is deja vu or something. I've seen this information before. Something's wrong here. And it's driving me nuts. I keep filling out the information, and finally I just decided to go back and look for whatever cigar it was that this was reminding me of. And sure enough, I found the Perdomo Habano, the Corojo, has pretty much the same makeup. The wrapper on both cigars is a Corojo, Cuban seed Corojo. The binder is Nicaraguan, and the filler in both cigars are Nicaraguan, and they come from Esteli, Condega, and the Jalapa Valley. So that's the 3 areas of Nicaragua is what really threw the switch there, and it was driving me nuts. But it'd be interesting to look into this a little more in depth to find out if the Tabac Fernandez actually had a part in both cigars, or if it's just a coincidence that I got 2 cigars that are very similar in makeup. But anyway, before I light the cigar up, which I was actually planning on doing right now, might as well to go over some of the particulars. Now, first and foremost, the cigar feels firm. It feels nice and compacted. There are a couple of soft spots, just here and there. From head to foot, it's pretty consistent. There's not just like one. There's a couple. When you hold it up to the light, in the reflection, it's got a nice, even, consistent sheen. And the overall look of it is impressive. It's got a rich brown color. The bands look classy. They're not overly big, and I really like the way it looks. It's fairly smooth. There's a couple of small veins down towards the foot, but really I'm going to burn through those pretty fast. But overall, the cigar looks pretty good. Pre-light draw is free, so now that we have the particulars, let's get things underway. well, while I light this one up, take a quick look at some pictures, and I'll be right back, and we'll get things underway.
I'm in the mouse, from going mind and spirit. Next up might be house, 6 bedrooms and pool. Just for me, I will live like a star. Don't bang the check on hear it. Have a boat new in his car, and in the mouth of factory band cigar. Now I'm shopping, I'm not stopping. Always be new stuff to buy, and I'll spend my needs in my hair. Now I'm shopping, I'm not stopping. Always be new stuff to buy, and I'll spend my needs in my hair. I swear.
See, I've got things underway. The burning aspects of the cigar are fantastic. The burn line is very thin. It's very even. The ash is light in color. It's firm and compacted. It's holding its shape very nicely, and it's nice and light in color. It just looks great. But the positive side of the cigar ends there for the most part. The first puff of the cigar, I turn the camera off and I'm, puffing on the cigar a couple of times, and it's just really, really harsh first impression. Immediately started bothering my throat, bothering my sinuses. The base flavor is Nicaraguan tobacco, and there's like a dark fruit kind of aftertaste to it. But just the roughness of the smoke itself is just very unenjoyable. Now, right before I turned the camera on, it's been about 20 minutes, things started to settle out. And the cigar is getting better. That roughness is starting to dissipate. It's still there, and it's still irritating in the back of my throat, but it's nowhere near as irritating as it was. So, the cigar's looking up. This is like a lot of other Rocky Patel cigars for me. For whatever reason, it's just got an all too familiar, I don't know, there's just this token flavor that I find in a lot of Rocky Patel cigars, and in some it's more prominent than others. And for whatever reason, I'm able to pick it up like a sore thumb because, just like anything you really don't like, it stands out. You don't like it, it's obvious. And I'm getting that in this cigar. Now, it's not as bad as it is in some of his other cigars. And again, a lot of people love Rocky Patel stuff. I'm kind of middle of the road. I found some stuff that I really like, but again, there's a lot of Rocky Patel stuff that I don't care for at all. And they all share, I don't know, like a common core, so to speak. And this cigar's got it as well. And I'm really picking up on it, but that's where we stand on the first third of the Indian Tabac 10th anniversary. So, pairing this up, I've had 2 of these, and I've had very similar experiences. So I decided to give it a try with some coffee. I've got some Sumatra Mandaling. That's it. Some Sumatra Mandaling from Black Dog Coffee Company, and tastes great. It definitely washes away some of that harshness from the cigar, and as far as a pairing goes, it's doing pretty well. So anyway, now that you know what's going on, I'm gonna let you look at a few more pictures, and I'll be back to do the second third. Seems that I had the cigars in the ashtray just a little bit too long. At this point, the cigar is changing for the better. That roughness that I was getting, previously, as it continued to dissipate, as it did from when the time I lit the cigar until I got in further into the first third. Now I'm at the second third. It's dissipated even more. And the smoke's becoming enjoyable. At this point, the dominant flavor is still that Nicaraguan tobacco. It comes through. It's rich. It's really nice, and there's spicy flavors in the background, as well as flavors of wood. I can't really depict what the wood flavors are. It's certainly not cedar, but it's a nice medley of flavors there. And as I go on, the body's progressing. It's about medium to full now. The finish is still slightly rough, but it's really not too bad anymore. That spiciness that I'm getting, it's not real heavy. When you generally take a puff, it really gets amplified when you blow it through your sinuses. But it doesn't become overwhelming at all. It's a nice little extra in there. It just gives you a little jolt when you send it through your sinuses, and that's an aspect of cigar smoking that I really like. I like being able to pass the smoke through my sinuses and get so much more out of it. And the burn is doing very well. I had the ash got to about, I don't know, a little over an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter, and just kind of plopped off suddenly. It was holding very firm, nice and compacted, light in color, but out of nowhere it just dropped and plopped right in front of me. And I've been keeping the ash about an inch, and then I'm knocking it off in the ashtray. I don't want to take the chance of dropping it again. But overall, I mean, the cigar's doing very well. On occasion, I hear something going on in the cigar, a little pop or a little hiss. But I don't seem to be getting any splits or anything on the outside of the cigar. So it's maybe it's a little oil or something inside the cigar that's reacting a little funny. But overall, I'm happy with the way the cigar is performing. The resting smoke is light. It's about medium in strength as far as the smell goes in the air, and the draw is pretty free. There's very little resistance. It's putting off a lot of smoke, which is nice. And it's also the type of smoke that's very dense and easy to get through your sinuses. It kind of lingers around the room a little bit. But again, like I said, at this point the cigar is doing pretty well. And with that said, I'm going to smoke a little bit further. You're going to take a look at a couple more pictures, and we'll be right back to dig into the final third and wrap things up.
Everybody's leaving from this town and from me. They got the burning flame, they sure achieve their aim. No stuff for me to see. Oh, I wish that I could do the same as that man go. Just pack my bags and goodbye.
Well, welcome back, and as you can see, it's about time to wrap up my Indian Tabac 10th anniversary by Rocky Patel. And I've got to say, the final third of the cigar is really nice. What happens is the body it plateaus at medium to full, and it just stays right there throughout the last third. The finish is still slightly rough. It gives you a little bit of a twinge in the back of your throat, but the base flavor changes over to the Corojo, very similar to the Perdomo Habano Corojo, and you get these kind of off and on jolts of caramel, in addition to a nice spiciness when you take it through your sinuses. And I really like that flavor combination that's going on at the end. And it's a shame. I mean, if I think this cigar would be a real winner if it wasn't so rough to start. You know, maybe some time in the humidor would help ease that roughness. You know, take the edge off and allow it to be a nice smooth smoke throughout. But unfortunately, that's not the case. At least in my scenario, it's not the case, and it hasn't been with the last couple that I've had. And as far as whether or not I'd buy more, I mean, the jury's really out on that one. I would really need to see how it goes with some time in the humidor, you know, maybe 6 months, because at $6 a piece locally, I don't know that I'm willing to fork over the cash to enjoy, you know, enjoy the last half of the cigar and kind of struggle through the first half. And this is a prime example of why I like to stick out the cigars. You know, I don't light it up and smoke a little bit of it and say, wow, you know, this is bad, and put it out. You know, had I done that, you know, I'd have lost out on the really nice flavors in the end. So, you know, I'm really glad that I stuck it through, and you know, I'm finding this last part of the cigar very enjoyable. The burning characteristics of the cigar are going very well. The burn has been even. The burn line is very thin and crisp. The ash is firm. It's compacted. Excuse me. You know, I'm not allowing the ash to get too long. I don't want it to drop on the table again. But you know, I'm knocking it off at about, you know, an inch, a little over an inch, and it takes a firm tap, and you know, it drops right off. You know, when it falls in the ashtray, it doesn't just kind of burst and fall apart. You know, it stays formed. The ash stays pretty well formed. And I'm at 105 minutes right now, so the burn rate is about average. You know, I've had longer lasting cigars, but you know, really, I don't see any problem at all with getting over an hour and a half out of the cigar. But you know, again, it's nice at this point. I just wish it were nicer in the beginning and not so rough. But that's really all there is to say about the Indian Tabac 10th anniversary. For my money, I really don't know. You know, I wouldn't mind picking up some more to let them rest, but I don't know that I'd run out and buy one, you know, just to smoke right then and there, because I'm just not real happy with, you know, the first part of the cigar. You know, there's been a couple of questions pop up. Well, actually, a couple of recommendations pop up about, you know, giving advance notice on the cigars that we're going to be smoking. And to be completely honest with you, I really haven't found an easy way to do it. We had a calendar set up, and that was working really well. If you logged in to StogieReview.com, it was right there on the dashboard, and you could see everything. And anyone that registered as a member could see it. But since then, you know, there's been problems getting it to embed properly, so we kind of let it go a couple of months ago, and we really haven't found a better avenue to do it. You know, maybe we'll just do a post and say, look, this is what we're doing. But as far as the schedule goes, you know, I really don't know what I'm doing from week to week. I've got a handful of cigars that I've got to smoke. They include the Eduardo line from Cigar Cigars. I've got to smoke Padilla Obsidian that was generously given to me by Ace, as well as a Don Lino Africa, which was also given to me by Ace. I've got, I just got a couple of these Jim Cronin Signature Selects, or the top shelf Signature Selects from Jim Cronin down in Skip Pack. He informed me that he's going to be wholesaling those to different cigar shops, so they're going to be more readily available. I'm looking forward to doing that review, and I've got a handful of others to do. One includes the Aragonese Nicaraguan Presidente, I think it is, or Nicaraguan Ambassador, I'm not sure. But as far as that goes, I'm not real sure. Just expect to see the cigars mentioned pop up in the very near future. And you know, with that said, I'm going to get out of here and, you know, let you be on your way. So until next week, happy smoking.